Chapter 7 After school that afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. McGuire stood before the closed door of Matt's bedroom. On the other side of the door they could hear Matt practicing his line for the school play. "Ah, the doorbell. I'll get that," Matt exclaimed, and then in a lower voice, "Ah, the doorbell. I'll get that." "Are you sure he needs talking to?" Mr. McGuire asked his wife. "Maybe he's just excited about the play." Just then they heard Matt say, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the greatest actor of them all?" Mrs. McGuire looked at her husband and raised her eyebrows. He nodded. They knew what they had to do. "After you," he said, opening the door. Together they walked into the bedroom. Matt was standing before a full-length mirror, admiring his face from different angles. "Matt, we need to talk to you," Mr. McGuire said. "I'm busy," Matt said without looking away from the mirror. I can fit you in later." Mrs. McGuire scowled. "We're your parents," she said sternly. "We don't make appointments." Matt sighed and turned to face them. "Fine, I'll practice later." "That's what we want to talk to you about," his mother said. "This part, well, it's going to your head." "My head?" Matt cried, placing a hand to his chin. "This head is perfect. I mean, look at this face." He grinned at his parents, then turned to admire his smile in the mirror. "Ah, the doorbell. I'll get that," he said to his reflection. Mrs. McGuire frowned. "What we're trying to say, Matthew, is that just because you're in a play, it doesn't give you the right to order people around," he said, "like your mother and your friends." "I don't order them around," Matt said. His parents looked at him skeptically. "I just tell them what to do," Matt admitted. "Isn't that what actors do?" "No, actors act," his mother told him. "Prima donnas order people around." "So here's what we're going to do," Mr. McGuire said. "You can be in the play, and we'll come watch. But when we come home, you're grounded for a week," Mrs. McGuire finished. "You can use the time to think about how you treated other people." "How can you do this?" Matt cried. "The day before my play? You're just jealous. You're all jealous. I don't even want you guys to come to my play and hear me say." Suddenly his voice broke off. "Ah, the doorbell. I'll get that," Matt croaked in a hoarse whisper. He clutched his throat with one hand, his eyes widening in alarm. "Mom, Dad, he's getting pretty good at this acting thing," Mr. McGuire whispered to his wife. She shook her head. It seemed as if Matt really was losing his voice. "My voice. I'm ruined. I can't go on," Matt rasped. His mother looked at him for a moment as if considering something. "You know what?" she said finally. "Forget about being grounded. Losing your voice is punishment enough." She turned to leave. "Wait!" Matt gasped. He slumped onto his bed, still clutching his throat dramatically. Meanwhile, out in the McGuire's backyard, Lizzie and her friends were putting Operation Repopularize Kate into action. Kate, Miranda, and Gordo watched from the edge of the porch as Lizzie demonstrated a perfect one-handed cartwheel. When she had finished, Miranda and Gordo clapped and whistled. "Your turn," Lizzie told her. Nervously, Kate rose and walked over to the lawn. Raising her right arm above her head, she took a few running steps, but at the edge of the mat she stopped short and lowered her arm. "I can't do it," she said to Lizzie. She was terrified of hurting herself again. Lizzie figured what Kate needed was the support of friends. Anyone's friends, she turned to Miranda and Gordo. "Come on, guys," she said. "I need your help." With Miranda and Gordo standing on either side ready to catch her if she fell, Lizzie coached Kate through a one-handed cartwheel. Taking a few cautious steps, Kate planted her good hand on the mat, kicked up her legs, and ta-da! Her feet flipped over her head. Right side up, she brushed her long hair away from her face and grinned at Lizzie in amazement. "I did it," she cried. Lizzie grinned back. "I told you it was easy." By dinner time, Lizzie had taught Kate how to do one-handed cartwheels, roundoffs, and even front walkovers. Miranda and Gordo clapped and whistled as Lizzie and Kate did a row of perfect one-handed cartwheels side by side on the mat. When they reached the end of the mat, Kate beamed proudly and slapped hands with Lizzie. "I can't wait to go to school tomorrow and show Claire up," Kate said, collecting her things to go home. Lizzie waited for a thank you, but when none came, her smile faded. "You're welcome, Kate," Lizzie finally said, miffed. She couldn't believe Kate could go right back to acting superior, as if nothing had happened. Kate glanced at her. "Thanks," she said begrudgingly. "But you know this doesn't change anything. It's not like we're all of a sudden going to be friends." She picked up her backpack and swung it onto her shoulder. "I'll see you guys tomorrow." She ran her fingers through her long hair and turned to leave. "Looks like my bunny grew some fangs." Lizzie folded her arms across her chest. "Bye." "See ya," Gordo told Kate. "Later," Miranda said flatly as Kate flounced out of her yard. Lizzie and her friends glanced at one another. "I can't believe her," Gordo said. "Why do we even bother?" Miranda asked. Lizzie wondered the same thing, but when she decided she wasn't going to regret doing something nice, even if it was for someone who wasn't very nice. "Guys, we did it because she was miserable," Lizzie reminded them. "And life with Claire was unbearable. Think about it. Did we really want to be friends with Kate?" "Good point," Miranda said. Gerardo sat back down on the edge of the porch. "Just once I'd like to hear Kate Sanders say thank you and mean it," he said. Lizzie and Miranda nodded. Just then Kate reappeared round the corner of the house. "Gerardo," she said. Gerardo sat up in surprise. "Yeah?" Kate pointed at the porch. "You're sitting on my sweater." "Oh." Gerardo's face fell. He pulled Kate's brown sweater from beneath him and tossed it to her. She caught it with one hand and walked off without another word. Lizzie and Miranda couldn't help but laugh. "I think we'll be waiting for quite a while," Lizzie said.